Nathan Crawford was 31 years old, and until that Tuesday afternoon in March 2025, he thought he knew exactly who his wife was. He was a mid-level software engineer at TechFlow Solutions in Austin, Texas, pulling in around $87,000 a year. His wife, Angela, worked as a part-time paralegal at a small law firm downtown, earning maybe $42,000 annually. They'd been married for 5 years, owned a modest 3-bedroom ranch house in Pflugerville, and had what Nathan considered a predictable, comfortable life. That comfortable life ended the moment he walked through his front door at 2:47 p.m. and saw the shoes. Men's shoes. Size 11 Nike Air Max, gray and black, still pristine like they'd been bought yesterday, sitting right there next to Angela's worn Skechers and his own muddy running shoes. Nathan stood frozen in the doorway, his laptop bag sliding off his shoulder and hitting the tile floor with a thud. The shoes weren't his. He wore size 9. These were definitely not his. His heart hammered against his ribs as he heard sounds from upstairs. Footsteps, muffled voices, a man's deep laugh. Then Angela's voice, lighter, saying something he couldn't quite make out. Nathan's hands went cold. His mouth went dry. Every suspicion he'd buried over the past 6 months came flooding back like a dam breaking. The late-night phone calls Angela took in the garage, claiming it was her sister going through a divorce. The new lingerie he'd found in her drawer last month, tags still attached, that she'd never worn for him. The way she'd started going to the gym 5 times a week, suddenly caring about her appearance in a way she hadn't since they were dating. The password she'd added to her phone 3 months ago, casually explaining it was for security after reading an article about identity theft. Nathan had told himself he was being paranoid, that Angela loved him, that their marriage was solid, that the small distance he'd felt growing between them was just the normal evolution of long-term relationships. Everyone said the honeymoon phase ended eventually, right? But now, staring at those shoes, he felt stupid. Blind. Like the punchline to a joke everyone else had been laughing at for months. Before we continue with what Nathan discovers upstairs, I need to ask you something important. If you're someone who values truth and loyalty in relationships, then this channel is for you. We share real stories about real people facing real challenges. Hit that subscribe button for Story Mode Folktales right now, smash that like button, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Because what Nathan finds upstairs will change everything you think you know about this story. Now, let's see what's really happening in that bedroom. Nathan forced himself to move. His legs felt like concrete, but he climbed the stairs one at a time, each step creaking under his weight. The sounds got clearer. Definitely a man's voice. Definitely coming from their bedroom. The door was slightly ajar, warm afternoon light spilling into the hallway. Nathan's mind raced through scenarios. Should he call the police? Should he burst in? Should he just leave and call a divorce lawyer? His best friend, Tyler, had gone through this exact thing 2 years ago. Tyler had come home early, found his wife with her personal trainer, lost half his assets in the divorce, and spent a year in therapy trying to rebuild his shattered self-worth. Once a cheater, always a cheater, Tyler had told him over beers one night. The signs are always there, you just don't want to see them. Nathan had seen the signs. He'd just chosen to ignore them. Because acknowledging them meant acknowledging that his marriage was a lie. That the woman he'd pledged his life to had broken those vows. That he'd have to start over at 31, navigating dating apps and awkward first dates, and explaining to everyone why his marriage failed. He reached the bedroom door and pushed it open. The scene before him made no sense at first. Angela was there, yes, sitting on their bed in jeans and an old Texas Longhorn sweatshirt. But she wasn't alone with one man. There were 3 people in the room. A man in his mid-40s with gray-streaked hair wearing khakis and a polo shirt, holding a clipboard. A younger woman in her 20s with a professional camera slung around her neck. And a teenage boy, maybe 16, sitting in their desk chair with a notebook, writing something down. Angela looked up when the door opened, her face lighting up with surprise. "Nathan, what are you doing home so early? I thought you had that meeting until 5. Nathan just stood there, his brain trying to process what he was seeing. This wasn't an affair. But what was it? "The meeting got canceled," he heard himself say. What's going on?" The gray-haired man stepped forward, extending his hand with a warm smile. "You must be Nathan. I'm Dr. Leonard Shaw from St. David's Medical Center. Your wife has been working with us for the past 6 months on a very special project." "Project?" Nathan's voice sounded hollow. Angela stood up, wringing her hands, her eyes uncertain. "I wanted to tell you so many times, but I needed to make sure everything was approved first. I didn't want to get your hopes up if it fell through." "Angela, what's happening?" Nathan looked at the shoes by the door in his mind, then at this stranger in their bedroom. None of this made sense. Dr. Shaw gestured to the younger woman. "This is Claire Martinez, our program coordinator, and this is Andrew Chen, one of our youth ambassadors. We're here to do a home assessment and interview for the Kidney Donation Compatibility Program." The words hit Nathan like a physical blow. Kidney donation. His brother. Logan. Nathan's younger brother, Logan, had been diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease when he was 22, 4 years ago. The disease had progressively destroyed his kidney function. For the past 18 months, Logan had been on dialysis 3 times a week, 4 hours each session, slowly watching his life shrink as he waited on the transplant list. The average wait time in Texas was 3 to 5 years. Logan's doctors had said he might not have that long. Nathan had gotten tested as a potential donor immediately, of course. Brothers often matched. But Nathan's tests had come back showing he had a rare blood antibody that made him incompatible. Their parents were too old, with health issues of their own. Logan's ex-girlfriend had offered, but turned out to be incompatible too. So Logan waited, growing paler and more exhausted with each passing month, putting on a brave face while his life slowly slipped away. Angela's voice brought Nathan back to the present. "I got tested 6 months ago," she said softly. "I wanted to surprise you. I wanted to help Logan. And I'm a match, Nathan. I'm a perfect match." Nathan felt his knees buckle. He sat down heavily on the edge of the bed, staring at his wife with complete incomprehension. "You... what?" "I'm donating one of my kidneys to your brother," Angela said, tears streaming down her face now. "That's what all the secrecy was about. The doctor appointments I told you were for work. The phone calls with my sister. That was Dr. Shaw's team, coordinating everything. The surgery is scheduled for next month." Dr. Shaw nodded. "The compatibility is excellent. Your wife has been through extensive medical and psychological evaluations. She's passed everything with flying colors. We're here today to conduct the final home environment assessment to ensure she has proper support for recovery. We also wanted to interview you, Nathan, to make sure you understand the process and the recovery timeline." Nathan couldn't speak, couldn't move. His wife, the woman he'd suspected of betrayal just minutes ago, was giving away one of her organs to save his brother's life. The late-night calls weren't affairs. They were medical consultations. The new concern for her health wasn't vanity. It was preparation for major surgery. The distance he'd felt wasn't her pulling away. It was the weight of keeping this enormous secret, this incredible gift she was planning. "The shoes downstairs," Nathan finally managed, his voice cracking. Andrew, the teenage boy, spoke up for the first time. "Oh, those are mine. Sorry." Dr. Shaw picked me up from school for this visit. I'm a kidney recipient, too. Got my transplant 2 years ago from my aunt. I volunteer with the program now, talking to families about what recovery looks like." Nathan put his face in his hands. He'd been so sure, so certain that his wife was cheating, that his marriage was over, that he'd missed all the signs like Tyler had. But he hadn't missed signs of betrayal. He'd been seeing signs of sacrifice, of love so profound she was willing to undergo major surgery, willing to live with one kidney for the rest of her life, all to save someone she loved because Nathan loved him. "Why didn't you tell me?" Whispered. Angela sat down beside him, taking his hand. "Because I know you, Nathan. If I'd told you I wanted to do this, you would have tried to talk me out of it. You would have said it was too dangerous, too much to ask, that we'd find another way. You would have made it about whether you deserved this kind of sacrifice. And this isn't about you deserving anything. This is about Logan deserving to live. And it's about me choosing to help him because he's family." Dr. Shaw cleared his throat gently. "Perhaps we should give you two a moment. We can conduct the interview downstairs when you're ready." Nathan nodded, unable to form words. The three visitors filed out quietly, closing the bedroom door behind them. Nathan and Angela sat in silence for a long moment, hands clasped, the afternoon sun streaming through their bedroom window, creating patterns on the carpet they'd picked out together at Home Depot 3 years ago. "I thought you were having an affair," Nathan finally said, the words tumbling out in a rush of shame and relief. "The shoes, the voices, the secrecy. I thought I was walking in on you with another man." Angela's eyes widened. "An affair? Nathan, I would never—" She paused, processing. "Oh God, is that why you've been so quiet lately? So distant? You've been suspecting me?" Nathan told her everything. The suspicions that had built up over months. The password on her phone. The new lingerie. The gym sessions. The late-night calls. Tyler's story about his cheating wife and the signs he'd missed. How Nathan had convinced himself he was seeing the same pattern. Angela listened, her expression moving from surprise to hurt to understanding. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment, then let out a long breath. "I put a password on my phone because Dr. Shaw's team sends me medical documents with Logan's private health information. HIPAA regulations require encryption. The lingerie was for after the surgery. I read that feeling attractive helps with recovery and mental health, so I bought things that would make me feel good about myself during the healing process. And the gym? Nathan, I'm about to undergo major abdominal surgery. I needed to be in the best possible physical condition. Dr. Shaw recommended cardio and core strengthening to improve surgical outcomes and speed up recovery." Every explanation made perfect sense, every suspicious detail recontextualized. Nathan felt like an idiot, but more than that, he felt ashamed. His wife had been preparing to give away part of her body, to endure pain and risk and permanent physical change, all out of love for his family. And he'd repaid that love with suspicion and doubt. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry, Angela. I should have trusted you. I should have talked to you instead of letting my paranoia build up." Angela squeezed his hand. "I should have told you from the beginning. I thought I was protecting you, giving you this amazing surprise. But keeping secrets, even with good intentions, creates distance, creates room for doubt. I see that now." They sat together, processing everything, until finally Nathan asked, "What's the recovery like? What do you need from me?" If you're still watching, that means you value stories about real love, real sacrifice, and the misunderstandings that can happen even in strong relationships. Do me a favor and subscribe to Story Mode Folktales right now so you never miss stories like this. Hit that like button if Nathan and Angela's story is touching your heart. Angela pulled out a folder from the nightstand drawer. Medical documents and pamphlets. The surgery takes about 3 to 4 hours. I'll be in the hospital for 2 to 3 days. Recovery at home is about 4 to 6 weeks before I can return to work. No heavy lifting for at least 6 weeks. I'll have pain, fatigue, and I'll need help with basic activities for the first week or 2. Nathan flipped through the pamphlets, seeing diagrams of the surgical procedure, reading about the risks: bleeding, infection, blood clots, potential long-term complications for living with one kidney. These risks, Angela. You're willing to take all these risks? Logan is 26 years old, Angela said simply. Without a transplant, he might not see 30. With a transplant, he could live a completely normal life for decades. He could get married, have kids, build a career, travel, do all the things dialysis is stealing from him. So yes, I'm willing to take these risks. Wouldn't you, if you could? I was incompatible, Nathan said bitterly. I wanted to. God, I wanted to give him my kidney so badly. When the doctors said I couldn't, I felt like I was failing him as a brother. You haven't failed anyone, Angela said firmly. You've been there for Logan every step of this journey. You drive him to dialysis appointments when you can. You've researched every treatment option. You've advocated for him with doctors. You've kept his spirits up when he wanted to give up. That's not failing. That's love. Nathan pulled her into a tight embrace, burying his face in her hair. You're incredible. You know that? You're the most incredible person I've ever met. Angela laughed softly, though it sounded like she was crying too. I'm just doing what family does. Logan is my brother too now. The day we got married, your family became my family. That's what those vows meant to me. There was a soft knock on the door. Sorry to interrupt, Dr. Shaw's voice came through. But we do need to complete the assessment today. Can we continue? Nathan wiped his eyes and stood up, helping Angela to her feet. Yeah, let's do this. The next hour was a whirlwind of questions and answers. Dr. Shaw interviewed Nathan about his understanding of the recovery process, his ability to support Angela through it, their work situations, their insurance coverage, their home layout. Claire took photos of their bedroom, bathroom, and kitchen, ensuring they had a safe environment for recovery. Andrew shared his own experience, describing the initial pain, the gradual improvement, the joy of being free from dialysis, the gratitude that never went away. The hardest part for me, Andrew said, wasn't the physical recovery. It was the emotional weight of someone loving me enough to do this. My aunt gave me her kidney when I was 14. I'm 16 now, and I still sometimes cry thinking about it. She gave me my life back. How do you thank someone for that? Angela smiled at him. You live it well. That's how. After the assessment team left, promising to send the final approval within the week, Nathan and Angela sat on their front porch as the sun set, painting the Texas sky in shades of orange and purple. Nathan still felt shaky, his emotions ricocheting between shame at his suspicions and awe at his wife's courage. I need to tell Logan, Nathan said. He needs to know what you're doing for him. Actually, Angela said, I already told him. Last week, after we got the final medical clearance. I wanted to make sure he was comfortable with it before moving forward. What did he say? Angela's eyes filled with tears again. He cried. He said he didn't deserve it, that he couldn't accept such a gift. I told him the same thing I told you, that this isn't about deserving. It's about family choosing to help family. He's still processing it, I think. He calls me every day just to talk, like he's trying to understand why I'd do this. Nathan remembered his brother, pale and exhausted from his last dialysis session just 3 days ago. Logan had put on a brave face, as always, cracking jokes about being a professional patient. But Nathan had seen the fear in his eyes, the fear that he was running out of time, that he'd never get to live the life he'd dreamed about. He's going to live, Nathan said, the reality finally sinking in. Because of you, My little brother is going to live. We're going to live, Angela corrected. All of us. This family is going to get through this together. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He lay in bed next to Angela, watching her breathe in the darkness. This woman he'd misjudged so completely. In the morning, he'd call work and arrange for family leave to coincide with Angela's surgery. He'd call his parents and tell them the news. He'd call Logan and tell him they were going to get through this together. But right now, he just wanted to watch his wife sleep and marvel at the fact that some people are capable of love so selfless, so profound, that it literally saves lives. And he'd almost missed seeing it because he'd been looking for betrayal instead of grace. The surgery was scheduled for April 15th, 2025. The weeks leading up to it passed in a blur of medical appointments, pre-operative tests, and emotional preparation. Nathan took 2 weeks of family leave from TechFlow, his manager immediately approving it when Nathan explained the situation. Take whatever you need, his boss had said. Family comes first. Nathan's parents flew in from Oklahoma, his mother immediately taking charge of meal preparation and house cleaning. His father, usually a stoic man of few words, pulled Angela into a long hug when he arrived. "Thank you," was all he said. But his voice broke on those 2 words, and Angela understood everything he couldn't say. Logan's reaction was the hardest to witness. When Nathan brought him over for dinner a week before the surgery, Logan sat across from Angela and just stared at her for a long moment. "I don't understand," he finally said. "Why would you do this for me? We're not even blood related." "Blood doesn't make family," Angela replied simply. "Love does. And I love your brother, which means I love you. It's really that simple, Logan. But the risks, the pain, living with 1 kidney for the rest of your life, you can't undo this." "I don't want to undo it," Angela said firmly. "Logan, you're 26 years old. You should be out there living, chasing dreams, falling in love, making mistakes, building a life. Instead, you're spending 12 hours a week hooked up to a machine, too exhausted to do anything else. If I can change that, if I can give you back your life, then this isn't a sacrifice. It's a privilege." Logan broke down then, sobbing at their dinner table, while Angela held him, and Nathan's mother wiped her eyes with a dish towel, and Nathan's father stepped outside because he couldn't handle seeing his youngest son cry like that. Stories of real sacrifice and unconditional love are what we share here at Story Mode Folktales. If this story is moving you, make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you can see more stories that remind us what really matters in life. The morning of April 15th came cold and clear. They arrived at St. David's Medical Center at 5:30 a.m. Angela calm and prepared, Nathan trying to hide his terror. They'd both signed endless consent forms, reviewed the risks one more time, met with the surgical team. Dr. Shaw explained the procedure again, how they'd remove Angela's left kidney laparoscopically through small incisions, then immediately transplant it into Logan, whose surgical team was prepping in the adjacent operating room. "We'll have you both in surgery simultaneously," Dr. Shaw said. "The kidney will be out of Angela and into Logan within an hour. Minimizing that time outside the body improves outcomes significantly." Angela kissed Nathan one last time before they wheeled her away. "I'll see you on the other side," she said. "And then we're going to have a proper celebration because Logan is going to get his life back." Nathan sat in the surgical waiting room with his parents, Logan's best friend Marcus, and a handful of other family members. The hours crawled by. Every time someone in scrubs walked past, Nathan's heart jumped. Finally, after what felt like days but was actually 7 hours, Dr. Shaw appeared, still in his surgical cap, smiling. "Both surgeries went perfectly," he said. "Angela is in recovery and doing well. The kidney started producing urine immediately once we transplanted it into Logan, which is the best possible sign. Logan's body is accepting it beautifully. They're both going to make full recoveries." Nathan's mother collapsed into his father's arms, crying. Marcus let out a whoop of joy. Nathan just stood there, overwhelmed, until Dr. Shaw put a hand on his shoulder. You have an extraordinary wife, Nathan. In my 20 years doing transplant surgery, I've seen a lot of living donors. But the love and commitment she showed throughout this process, the clarity of her decision, her concern for Logan's well-being over her own, that's rare. You're a lucky man. I know, Nathan said. Trust me, I know. They let Nathan see Angela first. She was groggy from anesthesia, with IV lines and monitors, but she smiled when she saw him. How's Logan? Were her first words. Perfect, Nathan said, taking her hand carefully, mindful of the IV. The kidney is working. You saved him, Angela. You actually saved him. Good, she whispered, then drifted back to sleep. Logan's recovery was remarkable. Within 48 hours, his color had improved. The bloating from fluid retention started to decrease. His energy returned gradually but noticeably. By day 5, he was walking the hospital corridors, marveling at how different he felt. I forgot what it was like to not feel exhausted all the time, he told Nathan, tears streaming down his face. I forgot what normal felt like. Angela's recovery was slower but steady. The first week was painful, the surgical incisions tender and limiting her movement. Nathan took care of her with a devotion that impressed even his mother. He helped her bathe, brought her meals in bed, managed her pain medication schedule, accompanied her on short walks around the house as prescribed by her doctors. On one of those walks, 2 weeks post-surgery, Angela moving slowly but determinedly around their neighborhood, she said, I need to tell you something. Nathan's heart clenched. What? Remember how you thought I was having an affair because of all the secrecy? Angela smiled slightly. I understand now why you thought that. And I need you to know that I forgive you for doubting me. You were working with the information you had, and I'd created a situation that looked suspicious. We both made mistakes, Nathan. You by not talking to me about your concerns, me by keeping such a huge secret. But we learned from them. We did, Nathan agreed. From now on, no more secrets, even ones with good intentions. We talk about everything. Deal, Angela said. Even the hard stuff, especially the hard stuff. 3 months later, they threw a celebration barbecue in their backyard. Logan was there, looking healthier than he had in years, back at work, already planning a hiking trip to Colorado he'd never thought he'd be able to take. Nathan's parents, Angela's family, Tyler, and other friends, Dr. Shaw and Claire from the hospital, even young Andrew, all gathered to celebrate not just the successful surgery, but the power of family and sacrifice and love. Marcus made a toast. To Angela, who proved that family isn't just about blood. It's about choice. It's about showing up. It's about being willing to give everything for the people you love, even when they can't repay you. Logan added his own words, his voice shaking but determined. Angela, there's no way I can ever repay you for what you've given me. You gave me my life back. You gave me a future. All I can do is promise to live every day to the fullest, to honor this gift, and to try to be worthy of the love you showed me. You're already worthy, Angela said simply, just by being part of this family. As the sun set and their guests mingled, Nathan pulled Angela aside. I've been thinking, he said, about that day I came home early, about seeing those shoes and thinking the worst. I was so focused on looking for signs of betrayal that I couldn't see the signs of something beautiful. I almost missed the most incredible thing my wife has ever done because I was looking in the wrong direction. What are you saying? Angela asked. I'm saying that sometimes the truth is more extraordinary than we can imagine, and sometimes what looks like an ending is actually the beginning of something better. You taught me that. You taught me to look deeper, to trust more, to believe in the goodness of people even when it's hard. Angela kissed him softly. And you taught me that secrets, even well-intentioned ones, can hurt the people we love. We both learned. We both grew. That's what makes a strong marriage, not never making mistakes, but learning from them together. The lesson Nathan and Angela learned is one we all need to remember. In relationships, assumptions and secrets are equally dangerous. When we suspect the worst without communication, we poison love with doubt. When we keep secrets, even with good intentions, we create distance that breeds misunderstanding. Trust isn't just about fidelity. It's about transparency, honesty, and choosing to believe in each other's goodness, even when circumstances seem suspicious. Angela's sacrifice saved Logan's life, but the real miracle was how her honesty saved her marriage. Sometimes the shoes by the door aren't signs of betrayal, they're signs of blessing we're too afraid to see. If this story touched your heart and reminded you what real love looks like, then Story Mode Folktales is your home for more incredible true stories. Subscribe to this channel right now, hit that like button, and share this story with someone who needs to remember that not every mystery is a tragedy. Some are miracles in disguise. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.